Welcome, everybody. This is normally where you would hear me say welcome to 1010's podcast, but this is not a podcast today, Robbie.
This is not a podcast. This is a featured vehicle, and this week we are featuring my Nissan 240sx.
All right, Robbie. Pretty simple. Let's just do a walk around. Maybe for people that haven't listened to the podcast, let's start with where the car came from and what all you've done to it over the course of owning it.
I bought the car in 2007 when I was really into the hot import nights car show scene. I figured a bone stock prior salvage 240sx was a perfect starting place for a build. One of the first things I did when I got the car was order a B-Magic D2 style body kit. When it showed up, it didn't fit at all though. I was working at a body shop at the time and decided that molding the kit on with fiberglass and body filler would solve all my fitment issues, which it did. And I love the clean look of the molded kit now, but I would never recommend molding a body kit on like this again. It just limits anything that you could ever do with it. Also, to give you an idea of how into the hot import nights car show scene I was, I painted the car House of Color Platinum Pearl, the same color as the Skyline off Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah, I know. The spoiler is a GT style carbon fiber wing. It didn't fit in the holes that I had from the previous wing, and I didn't want to fill in the original holes, so instead of doing all the body work and having to repaint it, I used carbon fiber plates to bridge the gap and cover the old holes. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The rims are ICW Racing SX5s. I painted the spokes with PPG Vibrance of Indie Blue, and then polished the faces. Yes, I know, clearly sticking with the racer theme here. And even though it doesn't match the rest of the build, I made 6-shooter center caps out of real fired 9mm shells. Once I got into autocross, I needed something with a little more stopping power, so I added the calipers off a 300ZX twin turbo and Brembo rotors off a 350Z. This setup is perfect because it's fairly cheap and all it takes is a custom bracket to add the clearance from the knuckle. I made the front bumper a quick attach setup. The sides are held to the fenders with their typical tuner O-rings, and the front of the bumper is attached by a bracket I made that uses hood pins hidden below the grille. The reason I went with the quick attach bumper setup was to allow easy removal when I want to run just the drift arm or bash bar. Once I got more involved in autocross, I needed a better suspension setup. I went with the Megan Track Series coilovers and replaced all the control arms, sway bars, support bars, basically everything with Megan racing parts as well. The front control arms, however, are Phase 2 motor trend because they had the curved tension rod, and I thought that'd be better in case I wanted to ever get into drifting and needed that extra angle. In the interior, I have a Sparco Corsa racing seat for the driver's side. It's perfect for me to autocross in since I'm a skinny guy and the seat only allows for a 31-inch waist. The passenger side is a Sparco Evo 3. This wasn't my first choice because it's the largest racing seat they make and requires custom brackets to fit in basically anything. But I got it at cost from a shop who was stuck with 4 of them and was happy to get rid of it. And when you're building on a budget and someone offers you a new Sparco Evo at cost, you take it and figure out the details later. In order to make the T56 transmission fit perfectly, I used an MGW short shifter that allowed me to adjust the shifter location an inch towards the rear, so I wasn't accidentally punching the radio every time I shift. When I bought the car, it came with a worn-out KA24DE engine with an automatic transmission. I swapped in mostly a stock SR20 DET, and that had a 5-speed transmission. I always had reliability issues with it and was able to drive it for about 4 years that way. It was a fun engine and with about 325 horsepower, but at that point I was doing more autocross and wanted something a little more powerful, something more responsive. I bought a built SR20 and replaced the one I had in the car with that. I spent an entire year trying to get it running right and was never able to. I switched from MAP to MAF and back, changed computers, wiring harnesses. After having multiple tuners try to dial it in, I finally just said to hell with it. And then I sold all the SR20 parts I had. I decided the only option was to go with an LS1 out of a 2002 Camaro SS. I was able to sell basically everything on eBay and Craigslist, and then immediately turned around and used all that money to buy the LS1 and then the swap kit and stuff off eBay and forums. Luckily, there's a huge following for this type of swap, so it's really easy to come by. It still amazes me how perfectly the LS1 fits in the 240 chassis. It actually fits better than it does in the Camaro. The only real challenge I had was shoehorning the headers between the frame rails, and the engine fit also allowed me to make an intake pipe out of a 4-inch carbon fiber tube, and it's just enough clearance to miss everything important. I can't believe I waited so long to swap in the LS1. This car is an absolute dream to drive, and it still humbles me to get stopped and have people ask me about what I've done to it, or just simply tell me that they think it's so clean. Obviously, I will always find new ways to want to fix or improve on it, but this is the closest it's been to where I can call it complete and actually be satisfied with what I've built. Maybe now I can just focus on enjoying driving it.
All right, thanks guys for watching, and Robbie, thank you for letting us feature your 240sx.
Yep, I was happy to do it, and I'm glad it could be the first vehicle. We plan on doing more feature vehicles in the future, starting with the Fiat, the RX-7, the Omni.
Stuff that we own, and then we'll kind of kick it to some other people that want to feature their vehicles.
Yep, so if you have a cool vehicle, something you're proud of, something you've built, shoot us an email, let us take a look at it, see if we can do a feature vehicle.
And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, so you can see any future builds or anything else that we do on this channel as far as videos go. Make sure to give us thumbs up if you want to see more videos. And also we have our podcast on the YouTube channel, so you can watch those. It comes with basically a slideshow, so if we're talking about some obscure Audi nonsense, it's pictured there. And then also you can find us on iTunes and Google Play Music, and basically any other podcast source will have our podcast there as well. So thanks guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.